Hi guys, it's Coach Joe Micela, Performance One Advanced Sports Training. We've asked a lot of questions about going over snatch progressions and how we teach the snatch. And we're gonna give you a little bit of an understanding of what we do and how we approach the snatch. My big thing with the snatch is that we're gonna teach overhead receiving positions first. We want that athlete to be comfortable holding the bar overhead and in several different planes of motion for their squat. So we have Masters National medalist Jessica Walters here with us, and she's going to be our demo for today. She's going to pick the bar up with her snatch grip. I'm going to say she's going to press the bar up as she simultaneously squats into a quarter squat. She's going to push and go down, hold, and then she's going to recover up. When she recovers up, she's going to keep her arms straight. We're going to do that same thing, but now we're going to go into a half or a parallel squat position. And she's going to press up, holds, and then comes up. Good. The big key again is keeping the bar with her arms locked overhead. Last position is a full squat. She's going to press again, hold, and she comes up. Good. Put it back down. We're going to do it one more time. I'm just going to go over a couple cues. She's going to push the bar into a quarter, holds, and she's going to stand up. If I put my forearm in the middle of her back, I want that bar to be right there. I don't want the bar to be in front of her nose. I don't want the bar to be excessively behind her head. Okay? So if I'm looking from the side, I'm looking at that bar angle is now right over and right behind her ear, over her spine, over her hips, all the way down her foot. She's going to put it on her back again. She's going to press into that half again. Down, holds. Good. When in this position, we're making sure that weight is over the middle of her foot, not excessively over her toes or excessively back on her heels. She's going to recover up. We're going to do it one more time to her full position. She's going to go down, holds. Okay, again, we want to make sure the athlete has balance. Okay, they're not excessively going front to back. As she stands up, good, and we'll put the bar down in front of us. So again, when she's in that position, we're trying to make sure that she has this understanding of pressing downward, okay? That we want that idea is as they go through their extension, the next most important thing is down. So in our gym, the two big concepts we want to make them understand is that we drive, we stabilize, okay? So we're teaching that stabilization now first. Why? Because it's not comfortable for people. You know, it's not comfortable for young athletes. It's not comfortable for older athletes. So you have an older athlete that's coming into the sport. Maybe say they came from CrossFit or they came from another sports background, football, whatever. Flexibility of their shoulders, flexibility of their hips, flexibility of their ankles is not usually, in this particular position, it's not something they probably did before. So we want to ease into it. So you may get to the point. Why I teach those three positions is because you may get an athlete, we're only going to go to quarter, push, holds. Good. This may be the only position they can get to. Okay, stand back up. Do we say, all right, well, they just can't do a snatch because they can't get below that? No, we stay there. Stay and they go to the half. Boom. This may be the only position they get to. But we got 2 out of 3 positions they can work on. Come back up. Go to the full position, but make it look kind of wonky. Okay, roll up on your toes if you can without hurting yourself. See, she can't get to a full position. Stand right back up and put it back down. So do we want to force that? No. That's why we can at least work on that quarter. We can at least work on the half. And then we may have to then, without the bar, do some other exercises. Okay, to work on that deep flexion of the Achilles or the adductors or her hips. But in the meantime, we can get that quarter and a half position to get really, really good. Once the athlete has shown comfort control with those positions, now we're going to add footwork into what we call our drop snatch. Now, sometimes the drop snatch can be kind of confused with the snatch balance, and we'll go over that in a second. But our definition of the drop snatch is going from a standing position with your feet right underneath your hip position, okay, or your drive position, and then how fastly you can push yourself down into your receiving positions. We're going to first go into the quarter position, then we're going to go into the half, then we're going to go to the full. She's going to slide her feet out into that receiving position, okay? On my command, I'm going to say set, and then I'm going to say drop. When I say drop, she's going to quickly move. Say set, drop, stands up. Good. She recovers up. She brings her feet back in. She brings the bar back down. She's not pushing up. She's pushing her body down into a locked position. Her feet and her arms should punch and land at the same time. We're going to go one more time to quarter. Ready? Drop. Recover up. Not bad. She's landing on the mid of her foot. She's not toe and rocking. She's not heel slapping forward down. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go to a half squat. Drop. Recover up. We want them to have that extra pause. We don't want them bouncing out of this receiving position. I want to develop an isometric strength to hold them in there. We're now going to that full position. Set, drop, recover up. Good, put it down for a second. What we're looking for with their feet is if they are going outward, okay? What we don't want is 10 and 2, okay? We want their foot position. When they land, if you think of a clock, 12 o'clock is straight ahead, we're starting roughly about 11 and 1. When they land, we want to keep that same 11 and 1 angle. They're just going to go one width of their foot wider. Okay? Now, if you got an athlete that has to go wider than that, there's some type of flexibility issue. Okay? And their groin, their ankles, their hips, whatever. Ideally, we don't want it to be more than one width distance of their feet. They should be able to put their butt between their ankles when they're going down. What also we don't want to see is this. Okay? We don't want them flying in the air and then returning down to the ground. Why? Because it takes too much time. Also, if I'm flying in the air, am I pushing on the ground anymore? No. Going back to what we said earlier, we're either driving or stabilizing. Second I'm in the air, I'm doing neither of those. Okay? I'm flying. Okay? So I'm not pushing any more effort into the ground, nor am I stabilizing. I have to wait to come back down. So we want to minimize that. So sometimes we will have an athlete, especially young kids, without the bar, just like Jessica standing right here, with a standing straight up position. We're just going to work on that footwork. Her arms are not doing anything. I'm just going to say drop, and she's going to move her feet out. She's set, drop, recover up. Good. We're going to do the same thing to our half. Ready? Drop, recover up. Do the same thing into that full. Okay? Ready? Drop, recover up. We want to just teach kids. We may use this as a warm-up without even the barbell as part of their general warm-up. We're laying that foundation down. Again, not letting them also, we don't want them to excessively jump forward. We don't excessively want them to jump backwards. We want to stay over this area of base. If anything, they're just going to go one width wider out. The second I jump forward, now I'm creating this momentum that I'm going to have to go forward, and I'm going to have to stop the barbell at some point. Same thing, I go excessively backwards. The bar is now having an extra momentum of now having to stop the barbell from going behind me. We want to decrease that horizontal movement of the barbell as much as possible. So again, we add these two movements in there, and again, at each level so that they can understand that. And some of these levels will make sense down the road when we do some of these other drills. Receiving positions are very, very important. The next most important thing is now bringing the bar in front of us. Okay, some people already pick the bar up, and they always want to go pull, 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 pull. But again, work on that receiving position first. Be comfortable there, okay? Because that's normally where they're going to miss a lift, especially in the snatch, is going to be with their overhead position in the bottom. Next most important thing that we teach is the bar being in front of their body. And that, even though it's a second thing, but there's kind of like two parts of it. We teach proximity, we teach thrust. Jessica's going to pick the bar up and she's going to put it right at her hip. At her hip crease, I want her to be as vertical as possible. She's going to have a little bend in her legs, okay? Her tush is out. Again, the weight is over the middle of her foot. I always tell my athletes, you got to think of some big ugly dude who's trying to pull the bar away from you, okay? That ugly dude looks a lot like me. Don't let me pull a bar away from him. That's proximity. I've always wanted to see that they're having that. That means that their upper back has to be engaged. So if I'm looking from the side, I'm seeing that there's a nice plane right there. That the bar is always trying to get away from you like a little kid in a store, and you're not going to let it. You're going to keep it close. Next most important thing is thrust. That means I'm going to drive through the ground. She's going to extend, and she's going to shrug up, and she's going to hold up, back down, set. Okay? We're teaching that from this position. When you're at your hip, I want to be vertical. She's going to extend again, up, back down. Second most important position is going to be at mid-thigh. Once she leaves hip position, she's now going to push her hips back and slightly have her shoulders over or in advance of the bar, not dramatically. Some coaches teach their legs are literally almost completely straight. That's going to create too much of a whip and a loop, and we don't want that. Our next goal, again, don't want the athlete to let the bar get away from their mid-thigh. Her goal is to bring the bar back first into the hip. Notice her leg angle is not going to change, but once it gets to the hip, she's going to thrust. Back, up, back down, set. She brings the bar in reverse. Again, why? She wants to keep that contact, that understanding of proximity. She's at mid-thigh again. Back, up, tall, balance, bring it back down. We're going to go, our next position is above the knee. Right there, again, we give a little tap on the bar, give them that feedback of understanding, keeping the bar close. Again, her goal is to bring the bar into that power position, which is our hip to go vertical. Back, up, back down. Good. Put it down for just a second. Why is that important? Some coaches teach at their hip that the athlete is still very over the bar. I don't. Because then they have to go from this position back and then up. What does that create? It creates space. Horizontal displacement between the athlete and the barbell, whether it be the snatch or the clean or even the jerk, is not good. Okay? We don't want distance here. The athlete now bumps the bar with their hips. They're creating like a hinge. That's why people go, oh, you do a kettlebell swing, it's very similar to doing a snatch. Bullshit. It's not. It's creating this horizontal thrusting of your body. Last time I checked, I want to go up. Okay? I want to go up, I want to go down. I don't want to go front to back. So I don't teach when the bar is at the hip. 1, 2, because we're trying to bring athletes in from other sports, and we want to teach them drive. So at that hip position, I want them to learn that the rocket, boom, goes vertical. If I took a rocket in the last second before it took off, I tilted a little bit. Where do you think that rocket's going to go? Okay, so when you're going through that thrust, I want the last thing you remember is vertical. The bar's traveling from your hip, up your belly button, up to your chest. Okay, it can be taught. We want to make sure that's good. Plus, it teaches their upper back to stay focused, close to their body. So we teach these 3 positions and we get them to ingrain. From hip to above the knee, I'm a big fan of what we call good friction. I want that bar to be touching against their thighs, into their hip, and coming up. Now the next thing is bad friction. We don't want friction at the kneecap. So it's kind of like a little knob right there. If we hit and grind against the kneecap, it's going to create that bar trajectory to go away from us. So how do we fix that? Jess is going to pick the bar up. It's going to start above the knee. We do what's called a snatch pass by. She's going to go from above the knee. She's going to go below the knee. Now at this point, notice what her hips did. They lowered, okay? So what she's going to do is going to push her knees slightly back, and she's going to raise and put the bar right above her knee and stop. So she didn't create friction at the kneecap. She's going to go back down. Notice the angle of her hips and her shoulders are moving at the same plane. The bar is coming back to her body. She's going to pass by again. Stop. Good. The angle is good. Now she's going to pull it, slide it all the way into her thighs, into her hip, and go vertical up. Boom. Brings it back down, and we're going to turn it right down to below the knee. Okay? We want this angle to be slightly over the bar, but we don't want it to be excessive. Straighten your legs out, like exaggerate your legs straight. Good. Notice there's space between the bar. If this happens in the pull, she's going to create a loop. Okay? She's going to create this bump off her thigh and up. We don't want that. Come back down into a good position. Her chest is out. She's pushing with her legs. She's going to go back into that above the knee position. Stop. Goes back down again. We do this several times to get that understanding. This is a tremendous load on her quads, a tremendous load on her back. Put it down for just a second. But once they get this understanding, it's going to be huge. Okay? They're pushing with their legs. They're pushing with their legs. She's adding that push and keeping the bar close to her body. So it's a bounce from where she's at, hip, mid, and above the knee. Everything is about legs holding position, back extending. Once we get here, legs extending, okay? Now she went below the knee. Back is holding, legs extending. Legs are holding, back's extending. Now she's here. Back is holding, legs finish through. It's a balance, okay? It's a balance, and it's kind of like, hey, we're doing a tug of war, and right now for this first part of the tug of war, you 4 guys are doing this work. And this part, you other 4 guys are doing another bit of work, okay? But at the same time, one's holding, the other ones are pulling. We have to have that concept here. That's why there's different muscles that have to be trained. When you develop this and break this into the progressions that we do, you're developing each of those little sets of muscles. Once the athlete has shown they've done this well, now we're going to go to a high pull. We're building off the other position. Progression, okay? Block. From her hip position, she's going to assume the same start. Why? This is very similar. Her finishing position is going to be just below her chest line, just underneath the xiphoid process. Okay, we're thinking elbows up, wrist straight, full extension, and a hold at the top. From the hip, up, back down, set. From the hip again, up, back down, set. We're going to slide back down to mid-thigh. Her shoulders are slightly in advance of a bar. Her main goal is to get it back to the hip and then get vertical. Back up, back down, set. We're going to go above the knee now, okay? Back, up, tall, back down. Good. She's going to go below the knee. She's going to work on that pass by building on that progression, bring it into the hip and finish tall. Back up, back down. Good. Put it on the ground, okay? Let me use your arm for a second here to show everybody. What we're trying to do is, make a little fist, is that her arm, upper arm is getting parallel to the ground. What we don't want her wrist to do and her arm to do is do this, okay? We don't want it to flex, because if it flex, eventually it's going to go like this, and she's going to go ole, and she's going to loop it over top of her body. We don't want her shoulder to protrude forward, because one, this is an unstable position. She's not using the muscles the correct way, but it's going to create this, okay? Now she has to chase the bar, or she has to come back and ole again, and we don't do ole here. We want this structure to be sound. So whether it's a pull or it's a high pull. And then we want the athlete to bring the bar back down in reverse. We don't want them to just fall forward with the movement. We're developing the musculature of the traps, of the rhomboids, and keeping the bar path the same every time she does it. So these are 2 huge concepts we understand. Don't let the shoulders fall forward. Be tall. And hold. So many times you see this, okay? The panda pull is bullshit, and it is not an effective way to teach people how to lift. It is actually a very advanced exercise that I would say 99% of the people, actually even most of the Chinese, don't know what they're doing. So you have not put in at least 10 years of lifting experience in doing snatches, please don't do it. It's bullshit, okay? You don't understand it, you're doing it wrong, you're gonna hurt. It's not gonna be effective. Learn how to pull correctly, learn how to fully extend, okay? And developing the musculature, developing the mechanics in your arms and your hips that get you through it. It's about the legs, but it's also about that upper body, keeping the bar close. Once the athlete has now shown us that they can do that correctly with good posture and form, doesn't need to be with a lot of weight, then we're gonna move into what? The muscle snatch. Muscle snatch is a great exercise, but a lot of people do it wrong or they do it too heavy. There's certain what we call skill transfer exercises that don't need a lot of weight. This is one of them. Okay, people see Lasha Tazakali and they're like, oh my God, his muscle snatches 150 kilos. Oh my God, everybody's got to do that. The guy's a freak, okay? He snatches almost 230 kilos. You're not him. It doesn't even have to be done that much weight. It can be done with 30 kilos. It can be done with the bar. It's an effective movement. We're teaching the turnover. A snatch high pull is going to be ideal. It's going to come from the bottom of her chest to about her collarbone, and that's going with the turnover. We're making sure there's not a big loop up and around her body. If I were to put a wall right here in front of Jess's face, I'm going to say, Jess, there's a wall right there. If you come out, you're going to hit the wall with your hand. I put you within 2 inches of that wall. I want the bar to go from a high pull, your elbow's going to drop behind you, and it's going to reach up over your head. She's going to start again back at that hip position. I'm going to say set, and she's going to extend all the way up, and reach, boom, holds. Bring it back down to the hip. Again, I put that wall right in front of her. I don't want her hands to come out. I also don't want her chest to drop forward. I want it to be tall. From the hip again, ready, up, and reaches through. Good, she's going to come right back down. Then she's going to go mid-thigh. We're always building on this concept of back, up, back, up. She's going to go from mid-thigh, back, up, tall, reach. Good, bring it back down. We're going to go above the knee. Set, back, up, and reach. Good, and she's going to put it back down. Good. So I'm looking from the side of Jessica doing this. I want her elbow, make her a little fist. So when she gets to that point, I'm thinking backwards and then rotate up. And then I have all my athletes make sure they do it in reverse, keeping it close to the body. Again, we don't want the shoulder to protrude out because then it's going to create this loop out away from her body, okay? We have this concept that once it comes close, okay, her elbow, again, will drop back. Again, there's a natural rotation of the wrist to come here, okay? But we want to keep the wrist, okay, as vertical as possible. We don't want it to be started flex because if she does that, first, this is an awkward position for her. Does that feel good? No, okay? Then it's going to create this at the very end. This little movement is going to take that barbell and then accelerate, okay, its velocity at the very end of the movement. Where you want the most stability to stop that rotation, you're adding rotation speed. That's where you're going to get someone to loop it out in front, or now they're going to miss it behind them. Like, I don't know why I keep missing it behind me. It's like, well, dumbass, because you're doing this. Every time you're adding this extra little bit of acceleration that you can't control. Whereas you're trying to do what? As we talked earlier, drive, stabilize. That means minimize that rotation of the barbell. I want everything to happen in this tight little window. I want to be punching and stabilizing. The second I rotate under the bar, stabilize. You don't want the bar to keep rotating. It's like I took a kettlebell that weighed 20 pounds, and I said, Jessica, catch it. And I throw it at her, and she goes, holy shit balls. How the frig am I supposed to stop this? Now the weight of that kettlebell, the rotational momentum of that kettlebell is now pulling me back. Now if I stood straightly underneath her and I threw it up in the air, and I said, she stopped it. She only had to worry about gravity pulling it down. She didn't have to worry about its momentum taking me back. The same thing with the snatch. She just has to worry about, boom, straight up. She doesn't have to worry about continuing that barbell's had an extra weight of force pulling her back. Or she didn't finish the pull, and now the bar is rotated out in front of her, and she has to go meet it. We want to minimize, again, horizontal displacement. We don't want a big rotation. Nice and tight. So now after that muscle snatch, we can add a complex to it. So we're going to add the muscle snatch to an overhead squat, and then we're going to add a muscle snatch to a press in the bottom, and then muscle snatch into a drop. We're going to do one in each position. From the hip position, she's going to hit her muscle snatch, up, holds it. She's going to do an overhead squat to full depth. Up, she brings it back down. She's going to go muscle snatch from mid-thigh, set, up and reach, holds, puts the bar on her back. She's going to press into a half, down, hold, up. She brings it back down in front of her. She's going to go a muscle snatch from above the knee, set, back and up, hold, puts the bar on her back. She's going to do a drop snatch to a full depth. Drop, up, good, and put it back down, okay? So we may add this component for just the muscle snatch to overhead, muscle snatch to the press in the bottom, muscle snatch to the drop snatch. Why? Now we're starting to add pieces of the progression together, okay? We're adding that idea of keeping it close. We're adding that idea of full extension. Now we're adding the receiving position and the timing of the movement. So we use these in different phases and different variables as they're warming up. They may be exercises onto themselves before they actually get to the point that they're actually snatching. With beginners, they may be only doing this. They've learned their overhead squat, they learned their pulls, they learned their high pulls, and then they got to this. Boom, you're done for the day, go do some back squats. And that's huge. Set a table, set a parameter. People go, oh, Olympic lifting, I just heard another coach. Olympic lifting for college athletes is too complicated and takes too long. Bullshit. What you need to do is set up a time to add these in, sprinkle them in at different phases of their training. They're going to get more out of it versus saying, go pick up the bar and go do this, okay? Well, that's asinine. That shows that coach doesn't have experience. I have too many athletes. I have 70 kids at one time. It can be taught. Learn logistics of how you organize that. And understand there's a bigger picture, and you may be teaching this to freshmen, you may be teaching this to 8th graders, you may be teaching this to college kids. Hey, as soon as you come into your summer workout, you're going to spend 10 minutes doing this. You may be make it part of their warm-up. It can be learned. Some are going to learn faster than the others, but break it down, show them the pieces. They may have to stop at some point. This kid may only got the muscle snatches. This kid only got the high pulls. This kid only got to the presses in the bottom. But where they go. Once the athlete has shown all that, we're going to put it all together. She's going to pick the bar from her hip. We're going to go from hip to quarter in one motion into our snatch. From hip to quarter. Set. Go. Hold up. Here we go again. From hip to quarter. Quick. Go. Good. We're going to go hip to half now. Set. She's going to lower her receiving position. Same start position. Hip from the hip to half. Ready? Go. Up. She's going to go hip to full. Ready? Go. Good. We're going to go mid-thigh to quarter. Mid-thigh. Set. Go. Good. Mid-thigh to half. Go. Good. Mid-thigh to full. Go. Good. Above to quarter. Set. Go. Good. Above to half. Go. Above to full. Set. Go. Up. Good. Thank you very much. Now, we did what would be the equivalent of multiple sets, multiple different movements all in one. So again, once you've taught that muscle to drop, you've gotten them, you've done it now maybe 2, 3, 4 workouts, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Now you could progress to something like that. So I'd use that right after they did the muscle snatch, drop snatch, and I would say, hey, we're just going to go hip to quarter. 1,000% of your kids should be able to go from hip to quarter. Hip to quarter, okay? I don't want to hear from a strength and conditioning coach that says that's too complicated to teach somebody. No, it's not, okay? Now, getting it from the floor and going right to the floor, yes. But you can let's get something out of that. Today we went over hip, mid, and above the knee position. Another day we'll go over below and we'll get more to the floor. But at least from those 3 positions, they were able to get something out of it. Okay, so then if we went to mid-thigh to quarter, mid-thigh to half. Now you said mid-thigh or above the knee to full. All right, you got like out of 20 kids, you go, hey, only 5 of them got it to the floor. Oh, full squat, no problem. Let them stay there. The other 10, 15, wherever it was, keep them at quarter or half. They can do everything right. They get the quarter squat. They can get to a half depth. Their footwork looks good. Their extension looks good, but they just can't get the full for whatever reason. Flexibility, this, that, and the other thing. They're scared shitless, whatever it may be. But you got 5 of them that can do it. Great. Let them go. Continue them through. Keep the other ones back until they maybe can get up to par. Now, if they're strength and conditioning kids, you know they just can't for whatever reason. Bad ankle, blank. Kids did this. His pec's too tight to get him into full position. It's okay. But you at least got them to quarter and a half, and you can still get something out of the workout. Okay? You're still trying to work on them, but everyone can do something. Okay? Everyone can use that movement to some capacity. Okay? So that's how we teach. Again, this is a very basic version of what we do. There's more steps that we left out. Again, another day, another time, we'll go over the below the knee. We'll go over the floor, kind of like we did with the clean. The snatch is complicated, but it's mainly because people get frustrated with teaching it. I love teaching it. I've had a lot of good success with teaching people how to do snatch that people never snatched before. They're able to snatch a lot of weight. What's a lot of weight? I went from a kid that never snatched, he snatched 157 kilos in about a year and a half. Now, can I do that with everybody? No. But at one point in time, I had the heaviest snatcher in America and in this part of the world was snatching in my gym because we taught her fundamentals and we pushed it a certain way. Okay, we teach these people how to do it, and they can pick it up really fast. You have to be confident, but you have to understand these positions you have to get strong at. Going back to the receiving positions. If you're not strong or comfortable in your receiving positions, of holding a barbell over your head in a full squat position, and able to move in and out of that position, having the biggest pull in the world ain't going to help you. You can't catch it. You have to learn that. And just doing overhead squats is not going to be that case. That press into the bottom, that drop snatch, are going to be huge. So those are going to be key concepts. Any other questions, send them in the comment section, and please like our channel. We're trying to put out more content to help you guys be better weightlifters. Take care.